In today's video, we're going to be painting up Catlyn Stark from the Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game. Okay, so what we're going to be doing first with our miniature is we want to make sure it's cleaned up and primed. Now, I already have cleaned up and primed this miniature here of Catlyn Stark, so I'm going to be going straight into it. So starting off with some ash grey and electric blue, what we're going to be doing is mixing these together in a roughly 2 parts grey to 1 part of the electric blue, just to give it that blue tint that we really want for the Stark, since I've been painting up all my Starks in a blue colour scheme like how they say they have in the book. So I want to give everyone at least a slight blue tint to their clothing, like Catlyn here, as well as I've also been going off the official artwork that they've been using in the Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game. They have she herself has a sort of a bluish tint to her grey dress going here, so I'm just trying to replicate that as close as I can, and just making sure, of course, to give a good coverage over the whole miniature. You may need 2 coats to do this, so you can really get off that effect. Okay, so now we have the main part of her dress complete. What we're going to be doing now is coming in with some Castle Grey. I'm going to be using Castle Grey here to be painting up her cloak that she has on. Now we're just going to be doing the bottom part of the cloak, not the top part. We're going to be doing that in a slightly different colour later on, but we just want to make sure we get a good coverage here, really going over it. Since it's a very smooth and flat areas that we're painting over here, we're definitely going to need 2 coats here, 2 thin coats, because what we're going to do if we have 1 coat, as you can see here, the paint starts getting a little bit thin and you can start seeing those streaking marks. So that's why we want to go over on the 2 coats here. So just remember to take your time when you're getting around those tight knit areas and switch to a smaller brush if you need to. Okay, so now we have Catlyn's cloak all painted up. What we're going to be doing now is coming in with some Stonewall Grey. I'm going to be using this for Catlyn's top of her cloak that I said we were just leaving out before, because I want to give that a slightly different colour, because I guess it's probably more of a like mantle on top of the cloak. So I just wanted to separate that out with a slightly different colour. So just coming in here, making sure we get a decent coating over there as well. Okay, now that we have that all done and dry, what we're going to be doing now is coming in with some Elven Flesh. And we're going to be using the Elven Flesh, of course, for Catlyn's skin, since she is a bit more of a paler character, so the Elven Flesh is going to be the perfect sort of colour for that. So making sure we try and avoid the areas of her dress. If you need to, come in with a slightly smaller brush to do this, but again, relatively simple. We might need to come over with 2 coats again with this, since the Elven Flesh is quite a thin paint, so don't forget to do that as well. So now that we have Catlyn's skin complete, what we're going to be doing now is coming in with some Cavalry Brown and some Lava Orange. And what we're going to be doing is mixing these 2 together to give ourselves the closest colour I can get to with Catlyn's hair colour here. And I've actually really liked the way that this colour's turned out. It gives off a very, I think, natural, realistic sort of redhead look, rather than just using the lava orange like I did when we painted up Sansa Stark. I know she has Sansa Stark has brighter colour here, so I think mixing in that Cavalry Brown, which is a reddish brown anyway, is giving a nice realistic sort of more lifelike darker redhead colour. So just getting in there, making sure we can cover all of her hair area. Now it's quite hard, she's got a lot of twists and turns in her hair, so just take your time, come in with a smaller brush if you need to get in between the face in there as well. Okay, so now we've got her hair all painted up. What we're going to be doing now is coming in with some Ivory, and we're going to be using this Ivory to just be painting up the little line of fur trimming that she has on her top of her cloak here. Just coming with the Ivory there. I thought some nice white fur would be a good pop out colour here against all this grey. As if we would have rather gone with a grey or a brown here, I think white's going to make it look a little bit more elegant and stand out and feel a lot nicer on the Catlyn here. So that's why we're going with the Ivory. Okay, so once we've done all that fur trimming, we're going to come in now with some Shining Silver. And for the Shining Silver, what we're going to be doing is painting up her necklace that she has on here. Now we're going to be painting up the big medallion part as well as the chains up along here. So you can see I've switched to a lot thinner brush so I can really get in there and just cover up the lines that I need to. And as well as she has a little metal clasp, I think it's called, to hold up her cloak there, so I want to make sure we get that as well. And you can see it's got very, very fine detail where the necklace is. So this very thin brush I got in here is going to be good work to do with that. Okay, so now we've done the silver for her jewelry here. We're going to come in now with some greedy gold, and we're going to be doing the other parts of her nice flash jewelry that she has on her. So we're going to start off with this belt that she has on here. It's quite a fancy sort of design on here, so I feel like I want to make it a metal looking belt, as well as in the official artwork. It sort of seems like it has a metallic quality to it, so I'm going to go with a nice fancy gold here, as well as she has actually 2 necklaces on, so I'm getting that inner necklace as well with the gold here. And of course, using that nice thin brush is going to make it a lot easier to get in there and really pick out that detail in there too. Okay, so now we have her jewelry completed. What we're going to be doing now is coming in with some flesh wash, and we're going to be using this, of course, to give a wash over the entirety of her face. Now, I'm also going to be using it over the hair as well, because flesh wash has sort of a reddish brown tint to it, and I think it's going to bring out that red hair of hers a little bit more, while also including some of that brown in there too. So just making sure we do that and make sure it's completely dry before we move on to the next step. Now with her wash completed from her face, we're going to come in now with some agrax earthshade. And with agrax earthshade, we're going to thin it down just a little bit with some contrast medium here as well, or you could use some Lamian medium as well to tone it down a little bit. What it does is it gives you the ability to thin down a wash without losing any of the pigment or the properties of a wash. It's really good for if you want to dial back some of the tone down a little bit. So agrax earthshade is a very strong brown, and I wanted to thin that down a lot, still keep that brown so it gives it off a brown tint, but I didn't want it so strong. I wanted to still keep that overall grey look, so that's why we thinned it down here with a little of the contrast medium. So of course, just remembering to go over the entirety of the cloak here, getting in all those recesses and not letting it pull up too much, because we don't want her to look dirty like I do with the sorry about that, Stark troops that we usually have. So just giving it a nice clean overall look. Okay, so now that we have that wash all dried, we're going to come in now with some Army Painter Blue Tone ink, and we're going to be doing the exact same thing as thinning it down with that contrast medium, because I don't want it to be such a hugely intense blue on here. I just want it to really emphasize and bring out that blue on our blue-grey that we have here, and thinning it down with the contrast medium is going to be perfect for that. So again, we're just making sure we want to get it into those recesses all over the miniature without it pulling up too much. So if you need to, just come back in with your brush, dab it a little bit to soak up any of those excess pooling areas. Okay, so now that we have that blue wash all dried up, we're going to come back in now with some Castle Grey. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming back in and just highlighting all those areas that we've just painted, washed down, with our agrax earthshade that we have on here. So basically what we're doing is we're catching all the high points on the miniature, which is actually reasonably easy to see here because it's got nice big deep folds in the miniature. So we want to come in here and pick those out, really giving them that shine like they've been originally hit with the light and it's bouncing off and giving that brighter effect since we no longer have the wash on here. So just come into all those raised areas and give them a nice good coating. Okay, so now once we have all those highlights done, I'm going to come in now with some ivory, and we're going to be adding in some little highlights just back over the areas. We've had the ivory, which is this nice little fur trim that we're giving her with the ivory. We're just coming in and just dabbing it slightly on the top. So it's going to just pick out, sort of like a mini dry brush was what we're doing here, just to pick out the tops of the fur here on there, just to really bring it out and make it look like it's catching the light in a nice simple step. Okay, so once we've picked out all that fur trim, we're going to come in now with some ash grey, and what we're going to be doing again is doing it with the electric blue. You may want to mix it just a little bit lighter this time as well, so we can really get the nice raised sort of sun hit color. As you can see here, I've made it just a little bit lighter, but our wash has toned that back. So just even if we use our original color that we used from the start, it is going to still stand out. And of course, what we're going to be doing is just like we've been doing with the last couple of steps is just picking out all the high raised edges to really give off the light shining off her effect. And it's going to hopefully come out really nice and look pretty effective on the table from a distance away as well. Okay, so once we have all that completed, there's only one last step to do, and that's to come in with some black, any black will do, and paint in that base. Now remember, I'm just doing all the bases black to keep them nice and plain for now, till we've completed everything up, and I come up with a scheme that I want to base my entire army with. So I'm just waiting until I've based up everything. So I'm just doing a nice black paint job on here to keep it nice and simple and classic. So you can, of course, base it however you want. And with that, we've finally finished painting up our Catlyn Stark miniature from the Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game. And you can see by adding in those highlights and toning down our washes just a little bit, we've really given off her a nice, elegant feel of a nice, graceful lady like Catlyn Stark should be. So I hope this has been helpful for you, whether you want to paint along yourself or you just enjoy watching me paint up some cool miniatures. So I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.